Hello everyone, hope you're all having a good day. My name's Neil, if you haven't seen my videos before. I have liver cirrhosis, which there is no cure for. This video is going to be a little bit of my story, how I wound up with it, what I went through, some of the procedures I've had to have, just what it's like to live with cirrhosis, and touch a little bit on what it's like to live with an incurable disease, that kind of thing. I kind of wanted to start this one out with a poem that I wrote, and the reason why I'm doing this is sometimes it's tough to get through and to live with something like this, and I find that it helps to put some of my words down on paper. Sometimes I'm not even sure what's going through your head. There's so many things racing that it's hard to filter them out, and I found this is a good way to filter them a little bit. So here we go. Twisting in my head, lost in my dreams. The words are not said, the voices and screams. Lost in my past, I can see a sight. This life I've amassed, I feel the fright. I'll open my eyes, but what will I see? Is it vast blue skies or death in the trees? So I'll keep my eyes shut. It's too hard to look around. I'm stuck 'cause I'm cut. Close my eyes, not a sound. That's just a little bit about my feelings, as far as sometimes you don't want to complain because you don't want people to, to think, oh, he's just complaining again or something like that. And sometimes some of the things that go through your head is easier to shut them out and move on and ignore them. Well, eventually they pile up and they become harder to deal with. But anyway, back to the cirrhosis. So I have liver cirrhosis. I found this out in May of 2022. About 2 years before that, I started drinking, and I didn't drink for like 13 years before that, not even a drop. And I went through a situation in my life that was kind of tough, and I started drinking, and I was drinking much heavier than I should, probably about a pint or so of hard liquor a night at the latest, and at the worst part of it, about the last year worth. Before that, beers here and there and stuff like that. So I was quite surprised when I wound up with cirrhosis. And the reason why I found this out, I had no symptoms whatsoever. And you normally don't. You normally don't have any symptoms until it's kind of too late. That's why paying attention to your liver is so important, because it's such an important organ in your body. And it's strong. It can regrow, and it can heal itself. And it's amazing what it can do. But once it gets to the point of cirrhosis, there's no curing anymore. You've covered in so much scar tissue that the cells can't regenerate, and basically the liver starts to die, and you start having effects and things start happening to you. So what had happened was, I thought I had some kind of like upper respiratory infection. I was having trouble breathing. I couldn't walk more than 10, 15 feet without being completely out of breath. This went on for about a month. And I remember I saw a family member, and they said, "What's with the big belly and the skinny face?" It didn't even dawn on me. My muscle mass, I lost it all. It started eating away at my muscles, and I used to be a pretty strong person. I worked in the automotive field and mechanic field, and used to be quite strong, and then I lost all those muscles. At my worst, I could barely lift myself up out of the bathtub. I had lost that much muscle mass. But then my stomach had gotten big, and it was uncomfortable to sleep, and I couldn't breathe. Finally, I went in, and they, did some quick tests and came back and said, "You're in liver failure." And I had quit drinking about a month prior to this already. But I was truthful with them and told them I was drinking more than I should, and they chalked it up to liver-induced cirrhosis, or liver-induced, alcohol-induced cirrhosis. And And they sent me to another hospital, drained my stomach, and my right lung had filled up. I had 5.5 liters in my stomach and 3.5 in my right lung. So the right lung was completely collapsed. And they pulled that fluid out. I was in there for about 10 days. They set me up with a hepatologist, which is a liver doctor, and gave me some medicine, preventative stuff. And I didn't really understand. Nobody really explained it to me what was going on at that time. It took a while later for me to figure it out. But I went home, still was pretty weak. I went into my doctor's appointment and they said, you know, keep doing what you're doing. And then I wound up throwing up blood. Well, one of the side effects that can happen is you get what's called portal hypertension. It's the main vein that goes through your liver, and it gets constricted, and your veins start making like dirt roads, like side roads, to be able to get through. And they wind up in your esophagus, and they become very brittle, and they can break, and that's what had happened. One had broke and started bleeding in my stomach, and so I went in, and they did what's called banding. They basically put a rubber band around the veins, and they shut them off so that, you know, they scar over, and the band falls off eventually and passes through you. So this happened, and then they sent me home again. Then my right lung filled up again, and my right lung kept on filling up over and over again. And then the fluid, they would do a biopsy on the fluid, or a culture, and it kept coming back as gram-positive, which is like a staph infection. So I'd get a phone call saying you need to get back to the hospital immediately to get some IV antibiotics in you. And this carried on for quite a while. I was pretty much hospitalized from May all the way through September. At one point the longest stint I spent straight in the hospital was a little over a month. They put a chest tube in, and I had to walk around with this briefcase that kept filling up with fluid because my right lung kept filling up. And they were talking about wanting to go in and close off the veins, and they wanted to reroute those veins into my stomach so that the fluid would fill up my stomach and not my lung, because it was less dangerous at that point in time. At that point in time, I was in desperate need of a liver transplant. They went across the hospital board and made the decision that I wasn't eligible for a liver transplant because I didn't have a support system at the time at that location, so I was turned down. So basically I was told that there's nothing else they can do for you, just go on about your business and bye, have a nice day. So at that point in time, I was kind of really still didn't understand what was going on. I didn't really get it. I had to make a choice to move in hopes to get a liver transplant. So at that point in time, the fluid stopped building up and things started getting a little bit better. I wasn't filling up on fluid. So basically the liver started limping itself along. And so I've been doing better as far as that goes. Some of the symptoms have gone down. I still get the confusion sometimes. The personality changes every once in a while. That's hepatic encephalopathy, HE. That's basically your ammonia building up in your body and processing into your brain. And there's a couple medicines they give you to help prevent this. One is lactulose. It's like this syrupy, nasty, sweet, sugary laxative that you have to take. And that binds onto the ammonia particles, and then it passes out through your body when you go to the bathroom. It's pretty nasty stuff. What makes come out of you is pretty nasty too. And it tastes terrible. You get the full body shivers when you take that stuff. And then the other one is Xifaxan or rifaximin, which is like a really heavy antibiotic which protects your brain from getting infected. So they give you that as well. They're not cure medicines, but they're designed to help hold back some of the symptoms. And then water pills to make you go to the bathroom constantly so you don't fill up on fluids. And the biggest thing, though, I found out after I started doing some research, that diet is huge. Changing your diet to where you're taking in more protein. I have to take in a lot more protein because the liver's processes your protein and turns it into albumin, and your body uses that albumin to be able to get energy, to be able to do things. And what happens is, if your liver's not processing it, it starts taking it from your muscle mass. And then you become extremely weak, lethargic, and can't do much as far as that goes. So by having a high protein diet and mostly protein in your system, it helps keep those levels up so that it's not eating away at your muscles and things like that. I've even had it to the point to where the muscles have been eating away at my stomach to where it created 3 hernias, which I live with on a day-to-day basis. I have to wear a binder to help hold those hernias in. Also, once you get a liver cirrhosis, they don't want to do any kind of surgery because surgery can be a risk. You could bleed out because one of the things albumin does, it helps create the clotting factors in your body. And again, you're deficient on that, so which means your blood doesn't clot as well, which that's why those varices can be so dangerous, because if they can bleed, they may not stop bleeding. Same thing if they do a surgery, you could bleed and bleed out, and or they could nick a vein or something like that. Also, chance of infection, your body can't fight those infections as well either. So that's another reason why they hesitate on doing any kind of surgery on you. Anyway, fast forward a little bit longer. Finally, they found out that they did some gene therapy and found out that looks like I have a type of hemochromatosis, which is basically a mutated gene in your part of your body that processes iron. So my whole life, iron has been building up. So the drinking was just like throwing a log on the fire covered in gasoline. It just made things go faster. It wasn't drinking alone that caused it. So finally found this out, which was nice to get some answers. But, again, too little, too late, So now, and then I go in for a biopsy here in April where they're going to take a piece of the liver out and they're going to, take a look at it, see if there's anything else that causes it, or see, make sure that they'll be able to get more answers basically from it as far as prolonged, what happened, what caused it, how far along it is, so on and so forth. So once I get that information, I'll update that here too. But now that I have it, how do I live with it? That one's tough. It's very hard to live financially. I tried going back to work, and it was a part-time basis, but then I kept on wanting being hospitalized because my ammonia levels were jumping up and my legs were swelling real bad and things like that. So I kept one up in the hospital. Again, it was just part-time work because I can't stand my feet for, full-time hours anymore. And then I kind of lost the ability to drive because the dizziness in the head and the weakness and stuff, I would find myself getting extremely tired while driving. And everything from where I live is about a half-an-hour drive. And it just got to the point where it got dangerous. I wasn't able to hold the road so well, which seems to be an odd side effect, but that's the way it affected me. So it affects everybody differently. So where I may have symptoms that may be this way, the next person may have symptoms that's another way. I'm grateful to still have the health that I have. It's mentally exhausting because you know that there's no cure, there's no fix for it. So it's like, how long do I have? And in reality, I could go to sleep and, the ammonia could affect the brain and I could not wake up. Or another Therosis could show up and I could start bleeding internally, or, you know, any of these things could happen. But do I live my life worrying about those constantly? No. I try to stay positive, try to find things to keep me busy, try to find things to keep me happy. Sometimes it's more difficult than others. You know, you're dealing with your own personal issues, you know, maybe your past, maybe your future, maybe something you're dealing with right now, and then you're trying to throw on top this life expectancy of liver failure on top of it. It's not easy. But you got to find something to latch onto, something positive to keep going. Because I do believe that a proper diet and keeping your mind occupied and trying to stay positive are major keys to staying healthy. And, you know, mind over matter. You know, just try to keep that mind straight and find somebody to talk to when things are tough. You know, a way to get it out, a way to say what's in your mind. You know, recently I found out I have gallstones, which if those gallstones get in and block the port for the liver, that could be dangerous extremely fast. And I go through pain with that and things like that. And again, they don't want to remove the gallbladder because it's surgery. And they try to avoid doing that. So it's like something else gets thrown on there. So what do? Well, you do the best you can. You know, again, I can't stress how important it is to focus on something positive. There may be a lot of bad things, and sometimes I have to take those things and compartmentalize them and keep some of these things in the back of my mind and not dwell on them, which sometimes is tough because, you know, you get these things in your mind, these things that really bother you. We all got personal stuff. We all got things that bring us down and that, you know, maybe regrets, maybe worries for the future, you know, and how do you deal with those? You know, everybody's different. And I can tell you that for me, I put them on paper as best I can. I talk to friends, you know, I find hobbies, things I can do. I try to stay active as much as I can, try to keep my mind from slipping down that rabbit hole. And I think that's super important. So for now, I'll keep on trying to find the positive things. Financially, it's tough, like I said, because, you know, I was able to be, you know, get disability, but it doesn't cover much, you know, so it is difficult. So it's just day by day, one day at a time, you know, stay positive, stay smiling, find something that you're happy about and go for it. Find a goal. And I think that's super important. There is a link in the bio and also in the description for GoFundMe if anybody wants to help. Don't have to, but it's there in case anybody does. And for everybody who has, it's been extremely appreciative. You've extremely helped me out, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been a blessing. And also, I want to thank everybody who subscribed. And please click the subscribe if you like this video, if you want to see more. I try to make these as often as I can. Well, with that said, everyone stay positive and have a great, wonderful day. And hope everything goes well for you. Bye now.